South Pacific, and she appeared in other musicals with Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and Gene Kelly. That in the 1950s and early 1960s. She died of natural causes in Los Angeles this morning. She was 93 years old. And coming up, there could be new help for people fighting addictions, and it comes from weight loss medications.
What?
Now, an update from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center.
We're slowing northbound 13 between Hickmore and Henri Bourassa. For southbound 13, it does have delays currently. Westbound side of the 20, still pretty slow on turning out to Norman again between Austin and Cabazon and Il Perot. Eastbound side of the 20, volume there, 55th to 1st Avenue. Northbound to Cary, that is still slowing. Sherbrooke up to the top. On the westbound side of the T-Can, it does have delays after Morgan out to the LaTour Bridge. At Sports Experts and Atmosphere, it's the Mega Fall Winter Clearance. Take advantage of 30 to 50% off and a wide selection of products from Top Sports. Details in store. I'm Lord Glazer from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center.
I'm so happy to announce the new Trevi promotion. Reserve your in-ground or above-ground pool or spa for 2025 and receive $100 in gift cards for every $1,000 you spend. Which means if you buy $5,000, you receive $500. If you buy $10,000, you get $1,000. If you buy $20,000, you get $2,000. If you buy $40,000, you get $4,000. So, in addition to the year-end liquidation prizes, you'll receive Trevi gift cards to brighten up your next summer. Can you see why I'm so happy? Valid in all Trevi superstores.
If you're worried about a loved one's use of alcohol, drugs, or medication, contact Drugs Help and Referral for support and information. It is confidential, free, and available 24/7. Call or chat via drughelp.quebec.
No.
These GLP-1 drugs may be able to help and aid in these addictive behaviors is just monumental. The landmark research looked at over 1.3 million people, 500,000 with opioid use disorder, and more than 800,000
Opioid use disorder.
It found those taking Ozempic had a 40% lower chance of experiencing an opioid overdose. The risk of alcohol intoxication cut in half compared to those not taking.
Why? Because they're having excessive fat.
I can't say for certain that these medications or these drugs cause a decrease in addictive behavior or a decrease in opioid overdose or alcohol intoxication. What we are seeing, what we love to see, is that the research is starting to mount, and the results weren't just evident in healthy patients, but also in those with type 2 diabetes, obesity, or both. Christine Martin didn't participate in a study, but she says the medication has helped her control drinking habits.
What?
I have no desire to drink wine anymore, and that's crazy to me because I couldn't stop before. According to the CDC, as of 2022,
Bullshit.
1 in 6 Americans ages 12 and older reported experiencing substance use disorder. The relationship
Oh my God.
between drugs and addictive behaviors is probably far more complex, and you don't understand it quite well yet, and a lot more research needs to be done.
One of Canada's most widely spoken Indigenous languages will be available on Google Translate. Inuktitut is spoken by more than 39,000 Inuit in Canada, and it becomes the first First Nations language on Google's platform.
Really?
Google worked with National Inuit Organization for the translations. Business news brought to you by
Okay, every day I would have bother.
one dish at a time.
And now here are
Oh
some
my
of the
God.
day's closing financial numbers. In New York, the Dow closed
Ow.
160 points to 43,239. The Nasdaq was up 6 points to 18,373. And now here's the rest of the day's business news.
Hello there. Chip stocks climbed today after huge manufacturer Taiwan Semiconductor posted a jump in profits on strong sales of NVIDIA's artificial intelligence devices. Shares in NVIDIA itself rose to a record high. This was a relief after ASML, a Dutch-based maker of advanced chip manufacturing machines, warned this week of slower sales. The Wall Street Journal says that weakness is partly because of setbacks at Intel, whose market share in data centers and PCs has fallen, and Samsung, whose memory chips have lagged rival products. The Canadian dollar changed hands at 72.46 US cents, down just over 1/4 cent. West Texas Intermediate Oil was at $70.09, up 27 cents. Western Canadian Select Oil by our latest fixed was at $58.30, down 20 cents. And the TSX Composite ended at a new closing high, 24,690.48, up just over 129 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
This Saturday is World Singing Day, and the Montreal City Voices Women's Choir is hosting a free event in Pointe Claire. The plan is for a global sing-along. Gail Chartier says group singing is therapeutic.
Singing is energy. Singing brings lots of energy. It takes us out of our dark places. It just makes us feel good. So this is what we want to bring to everybody, because this year World Singing Day is focusing on, I should say, mental health issues. And that's going on all over the world these days. There's so many people that have mental health issues. So we just want to bring people together for an hour and a half, sing, dance, do crazy things, and just have a wonderful time to forget all the troubles for an hour and a half.
And that takes place Saturday, starting at 2 o'clock at Cedar Park United Church at 204 Lakeview in Pointe Claire. Baby panda twins have made their debut at the Berlin Zoo in Germany. The cubs were born several weeks ago, but they'd been kept out of public view. Well, now one panda cub will be on display for an hour every day, while the other stays with their mother. The cubs have yet to be named.
Well, we remain under a frost advisory for this Thursday night, so if you have any plants that are sensitive to the cold, a good idea would be to bring them indoors. Here's what else we can expect overnight. Clear skies and a full super moon. It's the brightest hunter's moon of the past 17 years, so try and check it out if you can. But if you plan to do some sky gazing, bundle up. We're expecting to hit a low of 0 tonight. Friday, well, it's going to bring even more sunshine and warmer temperatures. We're looking at a daytime high of 15 degrees, and we will gladly take it. With your weather update, I'm Lauren Fernandez.
And that's it for us. For more on the latest news, you can go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Have a good evening. Stay well.
switching to Desjardins Insurance, you could save up to $550 when you combine your home and auto insurance.
Really?
And they've got more than 80 years experience. So imagine your husband bowled every day for the past 80 years.
Yeah, they must be good.
Desjardins Insurance. We're not new to insurance, and that's reassuring. Certain conditions, exclusions, and limits may apply.
Like most Quebecers, you probably have old electronics hanging around the house. But old electronics can still be useful. They're full of reusable materials that can be used to make all kinds of other products. That's why it's important to bring them to one of the authorized drop-off points that are part of the Quebec Electronics Recycling Program. From eco-centers and electronics retailers to other organizations within the network, recycling old electronics is not a waste of time. Visit recyclemyelectronics.ca.
1994 was a big year in Quebec. Minimum wage was raised to $6.
I was born.
Won silver at the Olympics. A spectacular meteorite crash just south of Toronto, and the very first Gourmet Food opened in Montreal. To celebrate, we've got offers that will make you relive the best of the 90s, like lifestyle adjustable bases at hot prices starting at $899. Plus, get a free gift with a $149 minimum purchase. Only at Gourmet Food. Hurry, it's for a limited time. See in store or online.
Are you familiar with the Government Authentication Service? It enables you to access a number of Gouvernement du Québec online services with a single account. This year, the Government Authentication Service will provide access to other government online services. So get ready. Follow the lead of over 1.5 million people and create your account by visiting quebec.ca/government authentication. It's quick, easy, and secure. A message from the Gouvernement du Québec.
That trip down south is always better behind the wheel of your own vehicle. But if you really want to save time and money getting there, that's where Abrams Auto Transport can help. Abrams will deliver your vehicle door to door anywhere in Canada and the United States. Whether you're a snowbird or just looking to get away for weeks, rest assured, knowing your vehicle can be waiting at your destination when you arrive. Quick service, hassle-free. For a free quote, visit abramsautotransport.com. Come see the Breeders' Crown Championships, the best of harness racing, including one of the best drivers in the world, the great Yannick Shenka from Greenfield Park. Friday and Saturday, October 25th and 26th in Greater Montreal, 6 betting parlors. It's the Breeders' Crown Championships. When the time comes to choose a luxury SUV, never compromise on quality. Buy or lease your new Lexus RX at Spinelli Lexus.
Experience amazing now with the 2024 RX 350 all-wheel drive premium package. Monthly from $658 at 1.9% on a 28-month lease with an $8,230 down payment. The ultimate luxury from $63,475.
Spinelli Lexus, the address of choice for all automotive services in Point Claire and Lachine.
Planning a business transfer can raise some questions. How do you evaluate its worth? Who will take over? What's an efficient transfer plan? But planning a transfer with Desjardins Business provides answers. From the financial transaction to transitioning to your new life, we're focused on whatever it takes to help you pass on the torch when the time comes. Because at Desjardins Business, we do business together. Everyone knows that the 48 Cégeps in Quebec open doors.
Like garage doors?
No, not those kinds of doors. By offering pre-university and technical programs, Cégep opens doors to higher education and the job market.
What about shower doors?
No, not shower doors. Cégep can open doors to a better career with continuing education and better workforce training.
Okay, patio doors.
Find your Cégep and program at lecégep.ca. 48 Cégeps that open doors. Just not all doors.
So, are you buying an electric car?
I don't know if I'm ready to take the lead.
You didn't realize we're skydiving?
I don't want to, Kenny.
Well, the Chevrolet Equinox EV has a range of up to 513 kilometers.
What? The sales guy?
Yep, and with government rebates, the purchase price starts at $41,061.
That's good to know.
Plus, eligible Costco members get a $1,200 bonus. See? It's easy to take the leap to electric. Details and conditions at ChevroletOffers.ca. Where did he come from?
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal. News.
South Radio, CJAD 800, an iHeart radio station.
This newscast brought to you by Plaza PMG. From holiday parties to corporate gatherings, Plaza PMG has everything you need to make your event unforgettable. Visit plazapmg.com to book now.
From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Emily Jobeski. Israel's military forces in Gaza say they've killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, a chief architect of last year's attack on Israel that sparked the war in Gaza. Reporter Joe Fetterman says Sinwar wasn't the focus.
Surprisingly, Israel says that he was not the target of this operation. Instead, participating in a battle on southern Gaza Strip. They say that he was with other militants who tried to hide in the building. Israeli forces, Israeli tanks building, and they say that Sinwar's body was destroyed in the rubble.
Says Sinwar's death marks the end of a reign of terror. 4 Liberal ministers have informed the Prime Minister's office they won't be running in the next election, setting the stage for another cabinet shuffle. Philomena Tassi and Carla Qualtrough have said they won't be running, while a government source says Marie-Claude Bibeau and Dan Vandal also won't be on the ballot. Liberal caucus members are expected to meet on Parliament Hill next Wednesday. Canada and India's relationship is strained after allegations of the Indian government's involvement in violent crimes on Canadian soil, and some members of the Indian diaspora in Canada say they're worried about how the situation may affect travel between both countries. President of the South Asian Centre of Windsor, Fazle Baki, says many community members have expressed concern about their ability to visit India if the tensions potentially escalate to visa suspensions.
They're concerned, they're frustrated with lack of information. They're looking for guidance. What will happen? There is uncertainties everywhere.
India's foreign ministry says Ottawa is trying to smear New Delhi as the country rejects claims it's behind widespread crimes in Canada. Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck says a locker room policy proposed by the Saskatchewan Party's Scott Moe would make vulnerable kids more vulnerable. Moe says if re-elected on October 28th, he would issue a directive banning, quote, biological boys from using school changing rooms with, quote, biological girls. Beck says voters are more concerned about large classrooms and not enough supports for students.
And if you see leaders holding so much power, choosing to punch down on, that tells you everything you need to know about them.
Moe says the move is in response to a recent complaint at a school in southeast Saskatchewan. And one of the most widely spoken Indigenous languages in Canada is now available on Google Translate. Inuktitut is a broad term used to encompass different Inuit dialects. It's the first Indigenous language spoken in Canada to be added to the tech giant's AI language model. This is the Canadian Press.
Now, an update from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center.
Slowdowns for northbound to Carey from Sherbrooke up to the top. Also delays southbound to Carey now from the top to go to St. Catherine. Southbound 15 still pretty slow between De La Rondre and the Champlain. To the westbound side of the 20, you are losing time before Hungrenio through Deville St. Pierre. Eastbound side of the 20 delays as well. 55th to 1st Avenue. For the westbound side of the T-Can, it has volume Cavendish up to the 13 again between Morgan and the Latour Bridge. Starting tomorrow at Farmer Bree, open your app, shop, scan, and earn 20 times the points or 25 times the points with a PC Financial card. Conditions in app. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Your next report at 7:15.
Now, open mic on CJAD 800.
Greetings, this is Akil Aline. I am your host for the next couple of hours on Open Mic Night on CJAD 800. Again, CJAD listeners may have heard me before, filling in for Aaron Rand a few times last summer alongside the esteemed Dan Delmar, and I also fill the role of guest commentator from time to time on the Big Five on the Elias Michael Show weekday mornings. And for those who are tuning in to me for the first time, I am a Montrealer, though born in Toronto, Trinidadian immigrant parents, after going to Summerled Elementary School, now defunct, Royal West Academy, and Lower Canada College's pre-university instead of CETA. I then did all my higher education in the States, studying political science in university and then law in New York City. And then I did the public policy and civil liberties think tank thing in Washington, D.C. for a couple of years after that. Some medical trouble, specifically in knee surgery, botched knee surgery, forced me to come back to Montreal and get my almost a decade ago. That's a long story unto itself. Any questions about the U.S. healthcare system? Look no further than yours truly. Since then, I've transitioned into working in TV, radio, and web journalism. Most recently, I've worked as manager of the Mass Montreal Cultural Association's Gemstar Circle of Excellence program, as well as the organization's new Roots of English Black Arts and Culture program here in Montreal. Now, enough about me. Here's our first story. Apathy is Boring. That name speaks for itself, doesn't it? It's a Montreal-based nonprofit that seeks to increase youth participation in Canada's democratic processes. They'll actually be celebrating their 20th anniversary next month. Question, have they had any measurable impact on youth voter turnout in Canadian elections or in any other areas of the political process for that matter? For more guidance, I'll be chatting with Samantha Royce, Executive Director of Apathy is Boring. Samantha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Now, can you just give us a brief summary of Apathy is Boring and what it does, beyond what I just said, of course?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, we've been around for 20 years now. So we've kind of seen over the years a really big transition, as I'm sure you know, in our political space. So, for example, in 2004, when we were founded, Facebook wasn't a thing yet. We didn't have this online engagement. We didn't have these sort of easier channels, to reach, a large amount of young people in easy ways around elections. So, bearing that in mind, when our founders decided to start the organization, they were actually just 3 young people themselves, and they were at a party, and they sort of looked around and thought, not a lot of our friends need to be all that engaged in the political process. And that was they decided as 3 creative young people that they wanted to address. So they got a small brand, and they started a website. You remember back then, they started a website, and they just started organizing volunteers, and they went out to concerts and to any event that they could get to. And the whole premise, really, of the work that they started was to create information that was youth-friendly and accessible, so really geared towards young people, exciting and interesting and just relatable for them. And second of all, meet young people where they already were and not expect them to come to them. So they, again, got on the ground and they started talking to people. And that work is still at the core of everything we do. 20 years on, we have really expanded, though. We deliver programs year-round now, and a lot of our focus is really still on addressing the very real barriers that young people face, not just in elections, but in all aspects of our democracy.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, full disclosure, I actually did very briefly in the summer of 2011 an unpaid volunteer stint with Apathy is Boring. This is actually after the summer after my first year of law school in New York City. I came back to Montreal, volunteered at the McGill Legal Information Center, and also at Apathy is Boring. So I got just a bit of a behind-the-scenes look at the work they do. But yeah, absolutely. And so what I'm curious about, you actually just answered the question I was about to ask about how you guys first started, but I'm really interested to hear you say that you guys address barriers to youth voter participation in politics. Usually when you hear people talk about young people being apathetic about things in general and politics in particular, the implication is that don't care and need to care more. But when you say barriers, you make it sound as if a lot of young folks do care, but face obstacles that prevent them from participating in politics. Is that the case?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I don't have to tell your audience, I'm sure, but I have never met a young person that doesn't care about something. So the idea that young people don't care, I think, is just so removed from reality. The real picture that we have, even, it just changes, right? There's dynamics that change. There's external factors that change. There's things that influence young people's perception of our government and what that looks like.
Run in any kind of politics, like while I was running for strategy, and he told me because I'm too honest.
Don't make that decision to vote often comes down to their perception of government. So their perception of the politicians, whether or not they feel that their vote matters at all to them. But in a real way, sometimes they also just feel like their vote actually isn't going to make a difference.
Exactly.
And that's part of the work.
Did you eat all your sandwich today?
Connect the issues that they already care about to the government and the, political process.
And then the dog was like, "What are you eating? Why don't I get any?" I'm like, "Just because I'm eating something doesn't mean you get some every time."
Just now tuning in, I'm Akil Aline. We're joined by Samantha Royce, executive of Apathy is Boring, and we're talking about their upcoming 20th anniversary, how far they've come and how far they still have to go. So how do you guys define the political process and specifically involvement in the political process? Because I think a lot of people, when they hear that, they mainly think of voting, but who says that's necessarily the only way to participate in democracy, right? What say you?
Yeah, no, I think it is so much bigger than that. And elections are essential, don't get me wrong. It's a way of showing that you're, if nothing else, at least showing that you're paying attention, right? But I think in reference to our other programs, I mean, we focus on a lot beyond the ballot box. So as we see within institutions, there's a lot of work that can be done, either as an individual or as part of a broader organization or movement, to influence decisions as they happen within the government. There's also community building, so just getting involved with local organizations that are doing direct aid and support work, or, letter writing campaigns, protests. There are actions that you can take sort of at the community level to make lives better, and to sort of create the infrastructure for better decision making in the public interest. And then there's also just opportunities to, engage in current events. And we actually have a newsletter for those who are interested, weekly, where we do roundups of Canadian political coverage. And I think it's really important that even just at that level, staying informed is an act of participating in democracy.
So, do you guys at Apathy is Boring have any kind of performance indicators or metrics to determine how effective your efforts are nationwide? And of course, in the process of answering that, I'm sure you'll be able to describe what some of your efforts are. Like, what are the tools you use to try to get through to young people across Canada and get them involved?
Yeah, so I'll leave aside just for 1 second our year-round programming. That's a bit more sort of consistent and longer-term sort of commitment. But when it comes to our elections work, it's really sort of a three-pronged approach, and then I can talk a little bit about how impactful those are. So we've got, typically the way we divide it, we've got our ground game, our air game, and our coalition work. So when it comes to our ground game, that's the kind of stuff I talked about that our founders sort of from the beginning knew was going to be an important element of our work, and that's the getting out on the ground, volunteers talking face to face. And so we've reached thousands and thousands and thousands of young people over the years just by doing that. We've had hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. And when we're able to do sort of a quick evaluation of that work, as the main work that they do is obviously to tell them, give them information about the election. So the typical where, when, ways to vote. That's often us referring them directly to the trusted information sources, so like Elections Canada or the provincial bodies that are responsible for elections. And then also talking to them about making a voting plan. So like, how are you planning to vote? And what we'll do in that process is try and get them to pledge to vote. And in that way, we found that at least in 2019, over a third of the young people that we reached that way had never voted before. So whether they were first-time voters or just young people that hadn't bothered to vote up until that point, we had at least like almost 20% of them, just right off the bat, hadn't decided that they were going to vote, but after that conversation, immediately were like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And then we had almost 100%.
So people who are obviously very knowledgeable about the candidate they're voting for.
Interactions are the most meaningful. There's been lots of research done in the U.S. As you'll know, I'm sure, the data available in the U.S. in terms of like registration and turnout is pretty remarkable. So they're able to do a lot of research there. It's not quite as open here, so it's a little bit more tricky to sort of actually get a pulse on like if you've registered someone, did they then follow through and vote? But in the U.S., we know that if you have a face-to-face interaction and someone actually asks you to turn out and vote, you're immediately at least 50% more likely to turn up. So we find that that's one of the most effective ways, and we sort of scaled that in different ways over the year. When it comes to the air game, that's really like the mass communication strategy. So whether it's us talking to folks like yourself in media or actually just distributing ads online, content, again, youth-friendly, accessible, relatable for young people, videos, whatever the format is that's kind of de rigueur, we will be there. We will have information for you. And then finally, the coalition building. We know that some of the most trusted actors, whether it's for young people or sort of just Canadians in general, are community organizations that they're already engaged with in one way or another, particularly when it comes to more vulnerable youth. And so in 2019, we co-founded the Canadian Vote Coalition along with another organization based in Toronto. And we had almost 800 organizations that signed on, offered voter information, to their bodies. They hosted workshops. We provided them with a lot of material, and so we were able to reach even more. The reality is it's kind of a numbers game.
Right, of course. Samantha, so sorry to have to cut this short because we're running out of time, but thank you so much for joining us this
What was that?
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen,
Sorry, Jack.
Look at the roads with Mark Schiller.
Tripped.
Good evening, Akil. We still have plenty of hotspots out there.
Akil.
First and foremost, that 40 East still heavy from Cavendish to the metallic
There, baby.
at St. Al. This does not bode well over the coming years when they want to really go to town on
Go
the
to face.
Metropolitan over a 12.5 kilometer stretch. I digress. Over on the Met West, that
Good
is slow
face.
from Mackenzie to DeCarry. The 520 East is still busy. Circle DeCarry North, stop and go to the top.
Yeah, that's one of those moments.
20 East is slow from 43rd Ave to First, and then again just after Angelo, merging for either side of the 15 in the Turk.
Loading so long.
What? Loading? What is it, PlayStation?
Yeah, right.
Less than 10 from the 40 through to Ali West. South volume boarding the Champlain at Nuns Island. 15 south slow from Ali West, set down to the Met northbound. Go at a slower pace from the 440 until you get out of
Slower
Well, and
pace.
25 minutes down. The 25 from the LaFontaine Tower with a 40-minute clock can be a suiting ease. Very rare that it leads the way compared to the 25 cent. When you order fresh and reliable groceries from What Up at IGA, you spend less time worrying about grocery shopping and more time doing what you love. Shop today on whatup.ca. Let us know what you see on the roads. Come to your tips to star 800 next port 730.
When the time comes to go electric, never compromise on quality. Buy or lease your new Lexus RZ at Spinelli Lexus.
Experience amazing now with the fully electric 2024 RZ 450e Signature Group, starting at $888 per month on a 28-month lease at 2% with a down payment of $8,911.
Yeah.
Experience the ultimate luxury at $64,525, which includes a $4,000 credit.
Spinelli Lexus, the
Beautiful.
address of choice for all automotive services in Point
Big ass
Comfort and
burgers.
Lachine.
You are not alone. The Alzheimer's Society is your link, your first link to
Oh, they're apparently now going to be offering
living with dementia.
Alzheimer patients
Wait.
me. Like, wow, that's like what you guys already said you would allow it for people with mental health problems who are depressed. And you're like, okay, but now we're going to give it to Alzheimer's people. It's like, hey, I think we already assumed that qualifies under this. Because Alzheimer's, you literally forget to breathe. Pretty brutal.
The space for lifting weights.
The space for dancing.
The space for living your best life.
And what does a person need to do to make all this happen?
All you have to do is point.
Okay.
Make space for possibility.
When you want to make jump disappear,
Call 1-800-GOT-JUMP.
or visit 1-800-GOTJump.com.
These days, you don't have to use magic to do your SAAQ operations online with
I
SACLIC.
hate you people.
For example, to replace a lost license, there's
You
no
people
need to
are
say,
unloading the road.
Nope. And to put your vehicle into storage, forget about. No,
Ew.
you don't need magic. All it takes is a few clicks with SACLIC. A message from the Société de l'Assurance Automobile du Québec. Planning your business's international expansion can raise some questions. How are foreign payments managed? Which markets have the most potential? Can commercial exchange be simplified? But planning to grow internationally with Desjardins Business provides answers. From banking solutions to managing currency risk, we're focused on whatever it takes to help you expand to foreign markets. Because at Desjardins Business, we do business together.
It's time to go all in on your favorite Nissan during Nissan's all-in clear-out event. With lease rates starting at 0.99% on all 2024 Rogues and Sentras, $800 credit for winter tires on select models and trims, plus a loyalty bonus of $500 for qualifying Nissan owners. It's a great time to get into a Nissan. But don't wait, because every model is clearing out fast. I mean, it's in the name of the sale, right? Nissan's all-in clear-out event is on now. Hurry in. Until October 31st on approved credit. Conditions apply. Details at Nissan.
My dentist, with the help of his
My dentist.
contributes to my good
My
health.
dentist, always my dentist.
Over 2
Honey, my dentist.
and to prevent or detect disease well before symptoms are felt.
Honey, I have to go to my dentist again.
In my overall health. For peace of mind, I visit my dentist regularly. A message from the Association des chirurgiens dentistes du Québec.
Hey,
At Hydro Solutions,
you fry it,
we
man.
install charging stations and even water purifiers. That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. Whoa,
We get it
whoa.
done as in we deliver, we install, we remove, we
Ow.
screw in, we strengthen, we measure, we level, we pet your dog
Love because he's so cute.
At least
We
you're not sleeping at my
unplug, we
baby.
reconnect, we assemble, we
Yeah,
calibrate,
right?
we adjust, we test, we fasten, we pick up, and we only
I
need
just feel like
once
a general
all the work is
rule:
done.
don't
Hydro
ever
Solutions.
sing at a
We
stranger's
rent,
baby.
we sell, we install, we get it done. All of it. When the time comes to choose a new Toyota, never compromise on quality. Buy or lease your new Toyota at Spinelli Toyota.
Like when she
It's time
asked,
to Toyota at
is,
Spinelli
or when
Toyota.
the
Drive
person
home
asked,
with
is there anything else I can do for you?
2024
Making a
LE
joke.
starting
If
at
you know a magic lullaby, they can sing my baby to sleep. Doesn't mean actually sing at someone's baby.
$0 down payment. A trendy choice for $37,437, including government rebates of $12,000 and $3,500 in incentives.
Spinelli Toyota, the address of choice for all automotive
Well, doesn't
services
this
in
make so
Lachine
much
and
now?
Montclair.
What?
New voice,
I'm making
fresh
sandwich now.
perspective. Open mic night on CJAD
Okay.
800.
I'll make it tomorrow.
This is Akil Aline again.
Tomorrow?
on Open
You wanna
Mic
go upstairs
Night
and
on
eat something?
CJAD Radio 800. Now here is a follow-up.
No,
on
I have
the
to go
topic
do
I
anyway.
just
Police
discussed
sometimes don't
with
get super
Samantha
early.
Royce, Executive Director of Apathy is Boring, a Montreal-based nonprofit that works to increase youth voter participation in the Canadian political process nationwide. Here's what I'd like to know, especially since my conversation with Samantha really only scratched the surface of the topic itself. What do you all, as listeners, think it would take to boost voter participation in Canada in general, whether among young people in particular or among voters in general of all ages? The number for phoning or texting in with your thoughts is 514-790-0800. Now, let me tell you all a little bit of a story. Back in the fall of 2005, January 2006,
Back in 1972.
in the first televised annual edition of Magna International's Next Great Prime Minister competition. That's actually one thing that I kind of have in common with current Conservative Party leader and federal opposition leader Pierre Poilievre. He was actually a finalist in the same competition back in 1999 when it was still strictly an essay contest. Back then it was called As Prime Minister, I Would. Now I had to submit a 5-minute video explaining what I would do if I were Prime Minister of Canada. I ended up proposing a couple of things. I proposed
Yeah,
to
where
use
is
the
he
federal
now? Where are you,
government's
bro?
constitutional power to regulate interprovincial commerce, to strike down provincial barriers to trade within Canada. Second, I said I would reform federal elections to elect the Prime Minister separately from Parliament. Now, I have to admit, I remember one newspaper columnist described that proposal as ho-hum, that is to say, a giant snooze, when he later reviewed our final round after it aired on TV. I only mention this because the 5 of us finalists were also challenged to propose some way of increasing youth voter turnout across Canada. Now, it's been 19 years, so I guess I can finally be honest about this. I had no idea what to say on that subject. And you know what? It ended up not even mattering. During the segment of the final round on TV, when 4 living former prime ministers, Joe Clark, John Turner, the late John Turner, the recently departed Brian Mulroney, and Kim Campbell, they all sat across from us on stage and asked us questions about our proposals face to face. Not one of them actually asked us anything about our proposals to increase youth voter participation. And it made sense, if you ask me, because none of them were particularly able to attract high youth voter turnout in their day. Now, to be honest with you, I'm still not 100% sure how to get young people, or anyone else in the population for that matter, to get more involved in the democratic process. I've always been a politics nerd, but I can't say that that's a trait that I've usually had in common with most of my peers, at least not when I was young anyway. The one strategy that I can think of is exactly the strategy that we just heard from Samantha. Ask
I try not to be
what
too judgy,
they
but
already care
my
about.
friend.
Instead of trying to get them to care about politics in general or specific
Like
political
you're the
issues
epitome of
that
I'm
we think they
educated
should
black.
care about, ask them what they care about to begin with, meet them where they already are, and then break down for them how politics affects those things that they care about, whether they like it or not. There is a saying, at least in the States, I know they have this saying, you may not take an interest in politics, but politics definitely takes an interest in you. So I'm curious about your thoughts on this matter, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think? Does that sound like a sensible strategy for getting apathetic people, or, as Samantha said, people who actually care about political issues, but maybe don't vote or don't otherwise participate in politics because they're just cynical about the whole process? What is the best way to get them involved? Is that the right way, or do you think any other approaches might be better? Is that an approach that would work for you, for example? Are you someone who takes much of an interest in politics? Or are you one of those people who take an interest in politics, but don't necessarily vote, at least not regularly? Or maybe you decide whether or not to vote in a particular election based on factors such as where in the country you live, or where in your province you live, where in your city you live. Do you live in one of those safe districts or ridings that always go for one party year after year, election after election, decade after decade, in which case your vote is either a moot point because you're voting the same way 90% of the voters in your district vote, or your vote is pointless because you're voting against the vast majority of people in your riding? That's one reason I've heard some people cite for not voting in particular elections or not voting at all at certain levels of government. Are you one of those people by any chance? Again, the number for phoning or texting in is 514-790-0800. And I would definitely like to get
I hate everything about you as a person.
matter, as not just now, but also throughout the show, from now and PM, because I know right now we are in a period of a
I should be rolling a joint, eh?
here in Canada and across the border in the States. Obviously, you've got the U.S. presidential election going on. More on
You hear that, folks? I should be rolling a joint.
But even here in Canada, we've seen a lot of maneuvering just over the last, couple of months. In Ottawa, where the current opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, has tried to work with at least one other opposition party at a time to try to bring down the current Liberal government, Justin Trudeau's government. And it seems that their government is very unpopular these days. And if an election were held today, it would probably lose and lose badly. And a lot of dissatisfaction has been expressed with Trudeau's government and its performance, including right here in Montreal. So I would definitely like to hear whether there are some of you out there who share that dissatisfaction, but even nonetheless don't necessarily plan to vote. And don't be shy. You don't even necessarily have to text in or text in right now, although it would be better if you did. I would love to hear your thoughts, but I will definitely try to get them into the conversation on the air later on in the show, if at all possible. Texting in is 514-790-0800. I've heard some people in the past say, maybe we should do like they do in Australia and just pass a law that requires everyone to vote, whether they like it or not. And if they don't, they may...
No, that's called fucking totalitarian fucking.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that's like.
I believe very strongly, well, not even to believe this is a fact, there is a right to vote. And I
Sid, you may or may not.
Exactly, but as much as you have the right to vote, I have the right not to.
It's like You have the right to keep silence. You have the right not to as well.
You know what? They're talking today about this
Whether you would ever pass a law forcing people
school
to
is being
exercise
held
any
in a
other rights,
mock,
such as the right to have an abortion,
and they're
or
just
free
like
speech, or free
appalled
exercise.
because they told the girls that they can't play soccer or like they're not allowed to play soccer. Like, well, not fair. Soccer's a fucking shiny fucking sport. Like,
Well, we have ourselves a busy go.
maybe they're just like, and they're like saying that it's like, oh, they're misogynist, whatever. They're teaching the kids misogyny. I'm like, yeah, but when it comes to men's breakfast, you guys don't have a problem with that. Because I remember once my mom used to do the men's breakfast thing. And then one day my mom kind of like suggested, she was like, hey, why don't we ever do like a women's breakfast where the men cook for the women? And all the ladies in the church group are just like, what?
Persistently tapping
I
those
don't
brakes from
understand.
popping
What
up
do you
to the
mean?
138
So I'm
split
like,
20
never
east.
mind. I'm
Not
not
too shabby
gonna
now
do
through
it.
Lachine. Just some light volume by comparison to earlier, and also a little slow merging in the Turcotte interchange for either side of the 15. Champlain Bridge has cleared out. LaFontaine 35 minutes to 25 minutes in favor of Sudingy East compared to
Oh, yeah, it's
the
the high
25,
moon.
where it is from Sherbrooke over the Illitor Bridge.
And it's the
Single lane 40
biggest full
eastbound
moon in the
span.
past
A
17
little
years.
busy over the first half of the bridge. Starting tomorrow at Farmer Creek. Open your app shop, scan, and earn 20.
I am listening.
25 times the points with a PC Financial card. Conditions in app. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Your next report at 7:45.
You head out into the great unknown, trailer in tow. Your Toyota Tundra pulls the load with ease. This is Finchy, hugs the potholes scattered along the road. Suddenly, thunder rumbles somewhere above. Nope, that's your stomach. It's time to stop dreaming about that new Toyota and start driving one. Discover the Tundra, available now at your local Toyota dealer, and check out our amazing offers at Shop Toyota.
You're a Toyota dealer.
Actual Rodolfo customer, Mark Cassini.
In our renovation,
Huh?
The workers from Rodolfo who came into our home were courteous, they were confident, they were quiet. The work was very
They were quiet.
Another fucking code word I don't even know.
Like, we do renovation without doing noises. See? It's exactly like it was before we did it. Yeah, you've been doing it.
If you're an entrepreneur, growth is essential for your business. At
Growth.
BTC, we get that. That's why we offer strategic advice
I just
and
turned it
flexible
off.
financing. The results speak for themselves. Businesses that we support grow at double the average rate. Accelerating the pace. We're on it. BTC. Advising.
Financing.
Elevate your energy solutions with Fuelit, Quebec's leading fuel distributor. From diesel to gasoline, oils, and a range of petroleum products, we offer on-site refueling for fleets with round-the-clock service. Get your free estimate now at fuelit.ca.
Are you a caregiver? Is your relative suffering from cognitive loss? Chateau Dollard and Dollard Desormeaux.
After I hit him in the face with a baseball bat, yes.
For frail seniors in a safe, stimulating environment. Find out more at residences.com.
A person makes the time for what they love.
Person,
And we make the space.
Person.
Junk makes the space.
So we make this space for
I'm not
possibility.
person.
The space for yoga.
The space for lifting weights.
The space for dancing.
The space for living your best life.
And what does a person need to do to make
Person.
All you have to do is point.
We make space for possibility.
When you want to make junk disappear,
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
or visit 1-800-GOTJUNK.com.
With Desjardins Insurance, you can insure your car online, and it's really simple. Oh yeah? And they've got more than 80 years
I think I put
experience.
too much.
So what? Well, imagine your kid did
What?
arts and crafts
Too
every
much.
day for 80 years.
Aw, you built a rocket ship as tall as the
See,
house.
that's a cool kid.
As tall as the house. And it flies.
They must be good. Desjardins Insurance, not new to insurance, and that's reassuring. Certain conditions, exclusions, and limits may apply.
it's SUV season at Mega Kia Brassard. Upgrade to the Kia Sportage, Kia Telluride.
Mega Kia Brassard!
Now at Mega Kia Brassard. Promotional financing starting at 2.99% for the
Fucking go
2024 Kia
crazy.
Sorento.
Are you currently considering using Viagra or
No.
Cialis? Then it's time you should know Jax.
I might not last long, but at least I'm hard.
Both Viagra and Cialis in one pill, delivered to your home discreetly.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Tryjax.ca. That's tryjax.ca.
That's try J cardiac arrest.ca.
On CJAD 800.
Georgia. Georgia.
Oh, so much for tuning in to Open Mic Night on News Talk Radio.
Oh, News Talk.
I am Akil Elin.
Akil Elil.
The lovely
You're Akil Elil, yo.
singing Georgia on my mind.
Georgia.
American History.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing.
On the
That's the one.
presidential election campaign south of the border, especially the state of the race in one key swing state,
Do you ever
his
feel
home state of Georgia.
like a plastic bag
Thank you so much for joining me.
racing through the wind,
No problem. Glad to be here.
wanting to start
Absolutely.
again?
Now, can you just briefly summarize your
Georgia!
background for us, giving us an idea of what you specialize in?
Like
Yeah,
a house
sure.
of cards.
I am
Go from
a
key to head.
specialist in the history of slavery and abolitionism.
Oh, because you know the lyric.
Within that
Do you
period,
like
or within that
Alright,
subject matter.
very
I
deep.
specialize in the 19th
It's here,
century.
swings
And
me on, seems
one of the things
to
I'm sort of
Georgia.
focusing on with my
You know it's
dissertation
there.
now is
Still a
sort
chance
of
for
the
you.
impact of religious debates over slavery on the abolitionist movement, and that actually, as I'll argue in the conclusion, sort of ties in with the
The light
modern blue state, red state divide. But I'm very
shine
happy to be here tonight.
just down the
Now, I've been saying for some time now that opponents of Donald Trump should thank God for their lucky stars, whatever you prefer. And I'll be honest here, I've been saying myself that the two major party campaigns of the Green Party debated so unusually early in the year this time, instead of only in September. Had a chance to see wasn't up to the job early in the year, something about replacing him. But Joe Biden actually still likely would have won the election over Trump in the end. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll never know for sure. But I think that, first of all, there's never been a case since 1892 where an incumbent president who lost re-election came back and won a rematch. Who came back and won the rematch and already won the popular vote in the last two elections, which Trump has.
Well, when you showed me a video, it was amazing.
Significant evidence he has a feeling of support that's significantly lower than what Biden's 2020 feeling was.
Or he used to
I
be
think
funny
that,
when him and Aaron
the
did
senility
things,
rumors go back to 2019.
and then
So
his
it's,
show got more
and so
popular
it's questionable
than
how much,
he had
sort of
at the
how
time.
cutting edge they really were. I think there's
And he
a reason to think that voters had priced it in, and that with
oh yeah, well my Sophisticated
comments
also
about
was
Speaker
who
of the
that
House
goes.
Nikki Haley, that it
Over
may
the
have
cooking
been
jobs. He was like, alright, whatever you
really
do.
her destruction if voters
And then
actually
I don't know why he
And I
got
also
like
think
super
we're seeing now a lot
political
of,
and was like a huge Trump supporter.
really
And people were like, yeah, but we watch your thing for like the video game part, not really for like your opinion on politics.
Prior to Biden dropping out, Trump really was already struggling to hit the high 40s. And there were all these undecided and third-party curious voters. And they largely, not exclusively, but a lot of them kind of coalesced around Harris, while Trump's support hasn't really dropped or gone up much. And I would argue that Harris kind of set up a process.
I showed you a sandwich to
Biden.
Cody.
You
He's like, holy fuck, dude. Speak like that. How fucking is she eating? I'm like, she eats like 15 months. Like,
I see. Now, again,
You don't believe me.
you wake up in the morning and you can.
No, when I go pee,
what the fuck are you doing?
when I go pee in the middle of the night, I always like stuff the fridge on my way, and I'll just like no, my chocolate bar or like anything chocolate earlier. I'll eat on my way upstairs, and sometimes I'll leave myself peace for when I wake up.
Born and raised, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Now, did you see the Democrats' victories in Georgia 4 years ago? Coming?
Georgia.
Joe Biden carrying the state at the presidential level, and Georgia electing not one
Georgia!
Democratic U.S. senators. Did you see that coming? And what do you think explains it?
I think I'm gonna call you
I didn't
Georgia.
see it coming at all. You know,
Daisy Dad.
I honestly underestimated Biden's margin of victory in 2020. I thought he was going to get 279 electoral votes
Really?
as opposed to
Okay.
above 300.
We're about done with this. He literally was like, I underestimated Biden's win. I thought he was gonna get a bigger win. Like, okay, Jesus. Fucking fake brown nosers.
So this is something that we don't quite understand. Every day when you wake up, you spawn into your life. So there's like past you and there's future you. And the basic problem with life is that past you has no problem screwing over future you, right? The reason you want habits is because you're lazy. You don't want to struggle. And if that is your ethos,
Like, oh, it's a me later problem.
leave the dishes in the sink.
That's a
the
good
night
example.
before. Future you can deal with it. Oh, we'll go through the mail tomorrow. Future you can deal with it. And then what happens is you wake up in the morning, you have all of these things hanging over your head. Oh God, I have to do the dishes. I have to go through the mail. All this stuff piles up, and then
This
we
is so good.
experience negative emotions.
What?
It's too
Those
much to deal with
salamis?
first thing in the morning. So recognize that every day
So good.
you control your spawn point for tomorrow. So this is something that we don't quite understand. Every day when you wake up, you spawn into your life. So there's like past you and there's future.
I don't know. I kind of also feel like
No prosciutto.
has no problem screwing over future you, right? The reason you want habits is because you're lazy. You don't want to struggle.
Oh, is that,
And if that is your ethos, then what you will do is leave the dishes.
See,
in the
I don't think
sink
that's
the night
true.
before. Future you can deal with it.
Because-
Oh, we'll go through the mail tomorrow. Future you can deal with it. And
I
then
think-
what happens is you wake
Okay,
up.
wait.
When you wake up in the morning,
I saw
you
this
have all
little thing, and it's this guy. He was like, imagine you can ask the creator, I want to be stronger, and he sends you a bunch of monsters to fight, and then you say, I want to be whatever, like, and then he's like, I want to be wiser, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you all like the life failures to make your life tougher. He said this way, but. That was really good too, actually. Dave Chappelle. Yeah.
Imagine you talk to the creator of the universe before birth and pick the person you get to become. You say, I want to be the most courageous. The creator replies and says, well, then I will give you monsters to terrify you so that you can conquer them. And you say, well, I want to be patient. Well, then I will make you work harder and longer so you can learn to wait. I want to be wise. And the creator replies, then I will give you failures that will crush your spirit so you can learn the value of judgment. You then say,
Wow.
sounds like a rough life. Can you give me a good life? The creator replies, just like we measure the quality of a blacksmith by the strength of his steel, I measure you by what you are at the end, not the fire and the hammer to make you. A good life isn't a life that's easy. A good life is a life that makes you to a good person. And that, my son, is a hard life. Imagine.
See? Like, and that's kind of how I find, like, comfort. Exactly, but
This is
that's
me.
kind of how I find comfort in my grandfather dying. Because to me, I'm just like, what the fuck did he work all that time for having 5 ungrateful children that none of them would be bothered to, like, be with him at the end of his life, and they just shoved him in a home. But the reason I give a shit about Native people so much is because of Gaga used the Native lady, and she, like, I was like 7, and she was like, Madison, you're very wise, you know that? I'm like, okay, cool, thank you. She doesn't know what that means, but no.
The fact that Dave Chappelle said all of this on SNL is insane. A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular, but I get it because I hear it every day. He's very loved. The reason he's loved is because people know how I've never seen somebody like him. He's what I call an honest liar. At first debate, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs. His whole system is rigged. And across the stage was a white woman, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, sitting over there looking at him like, no, it's not. And the moderator said, well, Mr. Trump, in fact, the system is rigged. What would be your evidence? He said, I know the system is rigged because I use it. I said, God damn. And then Hillary Clinton tried to punch him in the taxes. She said, this man doesn't pay his taxes. And he shot right back. That makes you smart. And then he said, if you want me to pay my like taxes that change the tax code, but I know you won't, because your friends and your donors enjoy the same tax breaks that I do. That, my friends, Star Wars.
The fact that Dave Chappelle said
Isn't that phenomenal?
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
Like, so good. One of the most same things I've heard recently. Is that you?
Wait.
What?
Wait. Yes. Wait. Tapping with my foot. Tapping. I want to be super smart.
You are super smart.
Oh, I don't need to want something else.
Everyone's really good to see you. So excited that you're here. I can't wait to get into storytelling. I can't wait.
Story time.
Now, I said it twice, but I said it differently. Because if you don't and you go, I can't wait to get into storytelling. I can't wait to get into storytelling. Now it seems like, well, I think Finn's lagging. So it seems a bit strange. So again, you can use that as an effect. You can even do it 3 times, but every time you say it, it has to sound different. Everyone's really good to see you. So excited that you're here. I can't wait to get into storytelling.
That was weird.
What?
30 days ago,
I
10 people
hate
started
you.
their communities on school. Here's where they are now.
Released on her website saying it's not good and it's going to endanger people's lives who could be affected by foreign interference. I don't really get it. I think that she's overreacting. Tom Mulcair agrees that everyone is overreacting to what's going on, but nonetheless, it is going to be towards the end of the video. And then you have snowfall in Canada. Yikes. You also have Jag Mead saying parent needs to get a security clearance. But more importantly, the state of emergency is in the Northwest Territories, believe it or not. And it's not for any political reason, sort of is. I mean, it's the cost of living. The cost of food, specifically in the Northwest Territories, has become so bad that the territorial government has actually declared it a state of emergency. Justin Trudeau promised over 9 years ago better infrastructure, clean drinking water, and just more resources to better the quality of life for Indigenous communities. And he hasn't done that. In fact, he's dropped the ball so much that now, like, you think that steak is expensive for you and I? Which it is. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's absolutely atrocious.
As you know, the legacy media is in full
Do you
flight. It's
also
fight,
either
fight,
turkey
freeze
or
mentality
chicken?
now. The New York Times
Just like that.
Turkey.
Turkey?
I'm not gonna say full.
Some turkey.
Asterisks tarred with their claim that the Constitution itself is dangerous. Now, it's one thing to pull down a statue. It's another thing to pull down the founding
Turkey
document
or
of an entire nation.
really
What
cool.
does it mean
Turkey.
for
You haven't had
American
turkey in a while.
culture when the New York Times attacks the Constitution and it's left a great new monolith within the alternative media space?
So, Giacomo, how you going, Bobby?
This is the new mainstream.
With the fight.
Joe Rogan to defend the Constitution against the New York Times. Let's have a look. Look at this. Oh yeah, of course. The Constitution is sacred.
Double barrel.
It's also dangerous. Right. One of the biggest threats to American politics might be the country's founding document. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. One of the biggest threats to America's politics might be one of the greatest documents that any country's ever founded on, if not the greatest ever. Mm-hmm. That could be a threat to America's politics.
America.
What politics?
America.
Like what? How could you possibly trust me enough to go on with you on
Could
this?
you possibly
It's incredible. I mean, it's on the one hand completely predictable, right? Because there's obviously an authoritarian force there that just grinds
grinds its teeth at night over the Constitution and the fact that it prevents it from doing things that it just wants to do last week, you know? And so, of course, they're like scratching their heads, like, can we come up with an argument for why it might be time to get rid of that thing? And of course, if you're a normal thinking person,
Get rid of it, just do it.
insanity. But if you're a New York Times reader, I'm sure that fits with the kind of ethos that's been cultivated.
Well, this is why a person like Trump is so important to them. Because if you don't have someone that is an imminent threat on the horizon in 3 months, it's very difficult to justify all this shit. So if you have Kamala Harris and competing against Ron DeSantis, if it's just Kamala Harris and Ron DeSantis and Trump doesn't exist, maybe he died. Maybe he died in the last few years.
Okay.
How could you wouldn't be able to make that argument? You wouldn't. There's no imminent threat, right? Let's say Mitt Romney. Let's say someone even more moderate as a Republican, even more palatable. You can't make that. You can't make that argument that we can't have a First Amendment because the First Amendment is in the way. The First Amendment is allowing people to say things that aren't true, misinformation and disinformation. And we're right here. We're September 2nd. I think yesterday was the first day where Brazil banned Twitter.
I know.
So X is illegal to have in Brazil as of today, as of yesterday. And not only is it illegal, but you go through it through a VPN and they will charge you $8,000 a day.
What?
I know. It's incredible that we are watching this.
Insane.
At this point, how can you continue to ignore the evident and obvious fact that we are in a type of global war when it comes to freedom of speech, when it comes to the right to protest, when it comes to the right to communicate freely, when it comes to the right to actually be a free citizen? I see now the coalescence and connection between advancing geopolitical
How would I
crises,
put this
the
top piece of
utilization
bread on?
of health crisis, the advancing of authoritarianism, and now the attack on even the undergirding elements of national democracies or republicanism, depending on how you see it. What we are moving towards is a late phase in national sovereignty and an advance towards globalism, where the power of groups like the WEF, NATO, WHO, IMF, it becomes yet more explicit, yet more immersive, where they legislate and control on behalf of governments that you elected to deploy laws that you may not agree with, but you'll definitely fund. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat? If you're watching this on YouTube, remember, turn on the notification bell. If you're watching us on Rumble, our great and glorious home, remember, subscribe, like, get involved in the conversation, and awake and wonder, because there are so many. We do a Bible study. Yes, we do Russell Brand's stand-up breakdown. Have a look at this with Billy Connolly. Our new The Oracle series, our first ever group interviews designed to bring the greatest and most authoritative voices in particular subjects together for the very first time. Robert Malone, Dr. Pierre Corey, and Steve Kirsch.
What we've experienced is a globally deployed psychological bioterrorism label. It's well developed. And then I started to see just global propaganda directed at essentially distorting, dismissing, and suppressing the evidence of efficacy. And I saw it as a crime.
And at that point, I knew that this was not just a coincidence. There were too many black swans for too short a period. And I've never heard anything like this story in my life.
They seem to get the human psyche so well when it comes to brainwashing us and propagandizing us to the direction that they want us to go in, that you would think that they would know that pulling all of these various tactics would actually just push support towards Trump, not away from him.
Ryan Root, some of his posts even show that he appeared to have been working with, in his own words, the U.S. embassy in Kiev. He's doing effectively military intelligence, human trafficking of terrorists. It's in this context that I think Ruth was kind of radicalized. He decided that while he wanted to assassinate Putin, the easier thing would be to assassinate Donald Trump.
Yeah, because all the Putin.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored
You
content
just don't.
where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a
Make
member
a whole
of a
fucking
growing movement. Download the Rumble
United
app.
Nations that excludes
every
the
time
Western
we make a
world.
new piece of content.
Who's the cigarettes? What happened to the radio after we talked about Putin?
This news is funded by
Oh,
viewers like
sadness
you.
forever.
Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. War, peace, and the presidency. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. With Election Day less than 6 weeks away, we're joined now by Green Party presidential candidate Dr. Jill Stein and her running mate, Butch Ware, a professor at the University of California, Santa Barbara. On Friday, the Green Party suffered a setback when the U.S. Supreme Court declined a request to put Stein on the presidential ballot in Nevada. The Democratic Party had sued to keep Stein off the ballot for failing to submit the proper forms. This comes as support for Stein has been growing in some areas over.
Did you vote for the Great White Hope?
Donald Trump.
The Great White Hope.
Okay, the big orange disaster is what I call it. Yeah.
Did you vote for him, first of all?
No.
What do you want to be forgiven for what you've done in the past? Because that's not who you are today.
No, guys, who he is today. That's
Are you the same person today as you were in the past?
I'm not.
Great point.
Well,
I'm not.
why today you're not, but he can't change?
He hasn't shown change.
So
Why do you love this man?
Really?
This man, do you like black people? What did your black skin ever do to you?
why you ask me that? Oh, haven't I shown I love black people?
You have shown that you strongly despise black people.
I know what?
Saying stuff like the great.
Proving you all a bunch you guys are a bunch of ignorant fucks.
Also, listen, you didn't know this about me. I call Obama the former Messiah. He's married to Big Mama, and he's afraid of his wife.
Is it Biden talking? Oh.
Mr. Peterson.
Did you vote for the Great White Hope?
You call him Donald Trump? The Great White Hope?
That's right.
Okay, the big orange disaster is what I call it. Yeah.
Okay.
Vote for him, first of all.
No.
What do you want to be forgiven for?
This guy's hilarious.
Because that's not who you are today.
No, guys, who he is today. That's
Are you the same person today as you were in the past?
I'm not.
Well,
I'm not.
Why is it that you're not, but he can't change?
He hasn't shown change.
So
What?
This guy's hilarious. What?
I was molested and raped as a child, so I have a very hard bend against pedophiles. How do I deal with that?
by forgiving them. If you hate the pedophile, you are worse than the pedophile himself. The angry person is
I
an
agree.
evil person.
I strongly agree.
No, but I mean, you don't have to
them.
persecute them
anger
yourself
that
and
the
kill
tribe of
them. I just mean, I don't agree with them.
But he's like for the question that he's asking, how do I get over it?
It's forgive it.
And he's so right, and it's hard to hear because that's not usually what people say. Usually, people say anonymously fucking accuse them.
I want to ask you about what Christ.
No.
You can walk away from this show a free person. You got to overcome the imagination. You got to overcome the anger of the heart. Anger is evil. There's no such thing as love in anger. It doesn't exist. I know you've been made to believe that.
He sounds like an imbecile, yeah.
Say that because it made them think that Jesus has the anger that they have as a human being, because the human being doesn't realize there is no you. You can walk away from the show a free person.
Every single time someone is debating him, being like you're like anti-black or you're a self-hating black person, and he'll be like, "What? No, I just don't understand why you guys are running around grabbing your crotch and being like, yo, nigga, like that's not home." Like,
Dr. Phil's audience is struggling with the truth that Jesse Lee Peterson is saying.
We need to restore the family. We need a smaller government. Government don't make anything work. We need to stop taking care of women who are having these babies out of wedlock. We need to stop taking care of these women who are coming from other countries. We need to stop taking care of their babies. We need to take care of American families first by getting them away from the government and restoring order. I grew up on a plantation in Alabama. A little hut house, that room outside. 6 brothers and 7 sisters. My family raised an amazing family. But what the difference was is that before you had babies, you got married. So you have the father and the mother in the home. And while the father's out earning a living, the mother was watching over his children.
Dr. Phil's audience is struggling with the truth Lee Peterson is saying.
Jesse Lee Peterson. He takes too far, but I'm still a big fan.
What's different about the white man than you?
He stole everything he has. He got 240
What has he stolen from you?
A free labor from black people.
What has he stolen from black people today?
Oh, he stole our culture. He stole our language. He stole our heritage. He stole our labor.
Why is it that black men such as yourself don't feel embarrassed complaining about white men and how they hold you back? And normal men don't have excuses.
I would love to hear your explanation of normal men.
Men who are not like
no,
women.
we should. You can walk around in the African stuff and ain't nobody stopping you. You can go out there and speak that language. You can do all that. Matter of fact, you can pack your and go back there. But why do you hold allegiance to a country that sold your ancestors into slavery? It was messed up what they did. The black people. It was messed up what they did. They sold my ancestors into slavery. Yeah, the white man participated in it. But what do you expect? He's a capitalist.
That's crazy. They're saying that black people are actually the ones who sold black people to the white man. Like, that's kind of fucked up.
Yo.
Well, that was like fucking when, Kanye West was like, oh, 300 years of oppression, that sounds like a choice. No, like, are you saying that being, like, black slaves chose to be black slaves? He's like, no.
But you guys never got over it.
Yeah, that's kind of what his point was. And he was like, but he was fucking, he even said he got a cocktail of Xanax and shit. Other fucking medications. And he's just like, I don't even know what's real or what's not anymore. And he's like fucking doing standing on the soapbox. Being like, my free black Americans. Okay, let's go upstairs.
Yo.
My butt is itchy.
What's your butt?
It's not my butt, it's my leg.
Somebody gonna burn our car? I'll wait.
What?
I'll have a car.
You're funny. Itchy.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh
Uh-huh.
my god.
I grabbed the dog.
You grab everything.
You have to grab the food.
Oh.
It's on the stair.
Shit.
Come on, dog.
Where's my phone?
What?
My phone.
Come on, dog. 1, 2, back. What are you doing?
Oh wow. Look at what they did. When they did the flashing. That, oh my god, that's that Graham.
She gonna sue him.
Huh?
She's gonna sue him.
Let's see.
Fuck. Good fucking job. Fuck it. I thought you guys tore it down and redid it.
Yeah.
So how's that Pepe who did that then? Hold on.
What do you mean, I guess? The flashing was there. Because it's the front as well.
Looks like Pippa's going to be hard back next year. Okay.
Why did the roofer did put a flashing that was the same?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just gonna plug my phone.
And we're going to ignore this and we're going to go eat.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep. Yep. I forgot the smokes. You bring those. I just dropped all the fries. Oh. What? What? Well, 1, 2, back. You're fat. Goodbye.